Welcome to Fans Be Like, Game of Thrones edition. This will be the final episode recap from Fans Be Like concerning Game of Thrones. Because my friends, my family of the realm, it is over. Last night, Game of Thrones concluded. It was the series finale. It was our last official viewing party here at House Biller for Game of Thrones. And in this episode entitled Game of Moans, the wheel was finally broken. And the wheel is the fandom of Game of Thrones. This finale drove a cat's paw dagger right down the middle of Game of Thrones fans. There was absolutely no Grey Worm area at all for this. You either thought it was amazing, over the moon, enjoyed it, what an absolute ending, or you're looking for David Benioff and D.B. Weiss's home address. We'll get into that. But let's recap, shall we? Game of Thrones finale. It begins on a real somber note, actually. Tyrion Lannister is wandering through what is left of King's Landing, and it's still the horrors of war and genocide all around. Buildings are complete rubble. People are wandering out with the 1,000-yard stare, some horribly burned. You see the corpses of children. There's flame everywhere. Again, Peter Dinklage has to do so very little to convey so much. This guy is gunning for another Emmy just based off of his reactions alone. So as he wanders through, and keep in mind, the episode takes its time with these moments. So I don't know what all the bickering about is. It's so rushed. Yeah, some of the plot points are, I'll agree to that. They had little time to work with, but it's a good long while as Tyrion wanders through the ruins of King's Landing, makes his way inside the Red Keep, sees the small council table is in ruin, the map on the bottom, the map that Cersei had painted so she could, track her conquests. That map is fractured right in half, the south and the north, right down the middle. Foreshadowing! But as Tyrion knows, he picks up a torch, and he's looking for the one place where he told Jaime to go, and he descends into the basically the bowels of King's Landing and into where the dragon's skull was kept, and sees nothing but rubble and a golden hand, and he realizes that, Jaime or Cersei or both probably didn't make it. So as Tyrion begins slowly and painfully undoing the bricks, he discovers the crushed bodies of both Cersei and Jaime. And again, maybe the big hero of season 8 has been Ramin Djawadi, because that music that man puts together, he gives us the most sorrowful and beautiful rendition of the Reigns of Castamere that you have ever heard in the entire run of the series. This was the beginning of my eyes opening like a sieve. Just to give you, I'm going to cut right to it. I fucking loved this series finale. All right, and I'll get to that, but I wouldn't cry so much, and I cried through the whole episode, like racking sobs, If I wouldn't cry so much if I wasn't so invested in what was going on. And I could see the pain in Tyrion's eyes, even seeing Cersei. When he saw Cersei, he was like, in his mind, he's like, I never wanted this for you. I never wanted this for your unborn child. I never wanted it for Jaime. I think he felt the real mantle of the Lannisters at that point. Like, we could have been a great house. We could have been the heroes. We could have been better than Aerys Targaryen, but we were probably just as bad, if not worse, with Joffrey and Cersei and Tommen being manipulated by the faith and everything. They fell. The Lannister house was a failure, despite what Tywin Lannister thought for so many years. He held on to his mantle. He held on to his house by power and fear and will, but it didn't mean anything. They never governed or loved their people. They ruled over them. And in the end, they were reduced to ashes for it. So seeing Tyrion uncover them was terrible. He finally goes to confront Daenerys, who is in full-on Adolf Hitler mode. Hitler meets Khal Drogo. She is addressing the Unsullied. She's addressing her armies and saying, I told you we would tear down their stone houses and turn them to rubble. I told you we would kill the men in their iron suits. These are all Khal Drogo's words from season 1. But we will not rest until we have liberated all of the world of its people. And this was the key moment. I remember when I heard her say this, in Dothraki, of course, but still. Or actually, it's probably High Valyrian now that I think about it. Who the hell cares? Probably Dothraki. But she says, from Winterfell to Dorne, we will liberate. So she's looking to basically, I think liberate has now taken on a very new tone for her. It almost sounded like Daenerys Targaryen's final solution. Everyone who fought for her, with her, who are on the side of Winterfell and House Lannister and Davos Seaworth, everyone who fought for her and got her to where she was, I mean, besides her army, they know this is too much. She's gone too far. Tyrion can handle it no more, and he takes off his hand of the queen pin and throws it at her feet. She instantly has him arrested. He's a prisoner. He knows it's his end. He knows he's done. He really wishes he hadn't betrayed Lord Varys. He has his regrets. He thinks he's probably the worst hand in history. Jon Snow goes to plead for his mercy, goes to Daenerys, who, again, in another, and I'm going to give big points to David Benioff and D.B. Weiss, who wrote and directed this episode and gave absolutely iconic shots in this, man. Daenerys, finally realizing her vision she saw in the House of the Undying, makes it into the throne room. Of course, it's not snow falling from the sky. It's ash. She's now the Queen of the Ashes, even though she says it's not what she wanted to be. She makes her way towards the Iron Throne, and she puts her hand on one of the pommels of the swords, and it finally touches it, and she rests her hand on it. But she doesn't sit, because behind her, slightly out of focus, Jon Snow has appeared. He's appeared to beg for Tyrion's life. And she basically gives him the Darth Vader speech. Join me and we will rule King's Landing together as aunt and nephew. Jon knows he can't stop her. He knows he couldn't try to stop her. And he knows that she still must be stopped. So she embraces him and they hold each other, and he says, you are my queen. You have always been my queen, and you shall always be my queen. He buries his dagger in her heart. Daenerys dies. Drogon comes in for a cup of coffee and sees her dead. And that's when my viewing party was like, shit. It's sad. He nudges her and realizes that she's dead, and he kind of, Drogon takes it all in and just lets out this god-awful roar of pain and anguish and despair. I mean, we've heard him roar in sadness before when Rhaegal died and when Viserion died. Those were his brothers. This was his mother. His mother is dead, and he knows it. And he just, like I said, lets out his pain in this terrible, terrible roar. I felt so bad for Drogon. Then he turns towards Jon Snow, and a light opens in the back of his throat. And we know what's coming. Now, keep in mind, this is Aegon Targaryen, a true-blood Targaryen. I was the whole time saying, bring it, burn him, let's go. Because all you're going to get is a naked Kit Harington walking out afterwards and be like, that was weird. But Drogon doesn't do that. He does what should have been done a long time ago. And it also matches half of my prediction that I made very early. And Drogon melts the Iron Throne into slag, basically, ending ending the battle for the throne, ending the betrayal and the blood and the tyranny and the terror, he realizes that this chair, this stupid fucking chair, is the reason for everything that Daenerys and her armies have gone through and the people of Meereen and Karth. Drogon has been an observer, but a conscientious observer for the entire show, and he'd had enough. Finally, Drogon had had enough. He lost his brother. He's lost his entire family when you think about it because of the Iron Throne. And he carries Daenerys off in his claw and flies off to bury her somewhere or to drop her in the ocean. We don't know. We're not meant to know, and I love that. And I go back to a line that Tyrion said on the episode "The Last of the Starks." Once the Night King was destroyed and the dead were vanquished, he had a great line. He said, "Now we have us still to contend with." And it's true. There is no king. There's no throne. What the hell are they going to do? They need to get, Tyrion is brought before a council of the seven. All representatives of the seven kingdoms have arrived. Sansa's there. Arya's there. Robin Arryn of the Vale is there. Gendry's there because he's now a legitimate Baratheon. In the best cameo of the night, Sir Edmure Tully, played by Tobias Menzies, shows up. And basically, Tyrion is led to them by Grey Worm. He's going to his execution. Jon Snow has been taken prisoner for killing Daenerys. Now Tyrion has to plead for Jon Snow's life. Jon's now been taken prisoner because he killed Daenerys. He killed his queen, and that's high treason. But now there's a council of seven who need to decide that they need a king to actually implicate the rule of mercy or death or whatever. So Edmure Tully, played by Tobias Menzies, great performance, stands up and says, "Well, I'm the veteran of 2 wars, and I've been through, and I believe that my experience..." Sansa's just like, sit down. Sit down, Lord Edmure, please. You basically got kidnapped at the Red Wedding, and you spent the entire series being a goddamn pawn for other houses. Sit down. Sit down. So after some discussion, it is decided by Tyrion. They ask Tyrion Lannister, "Who do you think is best to serve as king?" And he says, "What will outlive us all is not coin, it is not money, it is not power, it is not even love. It is the story of us, our story that we hand down to the next generations that they can learn from. Who better to tell the story than the living memory of Westeros? Brandon Stark, Bran the Broken. He is voted unanimously aye as the new king of the 7 kingdoms. 6 kingdoms, because the North for thousands of years has remained independent of the crown, and once again they shall remain independent of the crown, with Sansa Stark being the Lady of Winterfell and Warden of the North. Or actually, she got a higher title, the Queen in the North. So, obviously Jon is freed. He can't be the king because he committed treason and this, that. I mean, it just doesn't... Jon Snow never wanted to be king. So he is sent, not punished, not exiled. He is sent back to Castle Black. He is sent to the Wall, back to Tormund, back to the station he served so well for so many years. And we knew it was coming. I totally knew this was coming. As soon as he did make it to Castle Black and he saw Tormund, I even whispered over to Val, I'm like, now he's going to pet Ghost. Now he's going to pet and hug the shit out of Ghost. So I shut up all the people from the last week. Oh, he didn't pet Ghost. He gave Ghost the nuzzles that good boy deserved when he saw him again. And all was right with the Stark clan. Arya went west of Westeros, which no one has ever returned from. But if anybody's going to come back, it's definitely going to be the queen, if not today. She does not want to rule. She does not want to be in a kingdom. She wants to go and explore far lands beyond the map, which is awesome. It's perfect for her character. Brienne of Tarth is left to finish the final chapter of the book of famous knights and heroes and warriors and kings, and so she finishes Jaime Lannister's chapter, and she finishes it with dignity. Basically, all in all, with music, with cinematography, with production design, acting, vibe, feel, tone, whatever. The key word of this finale for me was payoff. And not everybody got a happy ending, but it was also subverting what we all thought was going to happen based on what Ramsay Bolton said so long ago. If you think this has a happy ending, you've not been paying attention. The ultimate twist was it was a happy ending. It was a very, very happy ending. I thought everybody's finale, everyone's character arc was earned, was foreshadowed enough, made sense with who they were and who they are and who they always want to be. I believe everyone that we've watched is going the way that the best way they could go, I think, on Game of Thrones. A lot of people said, I didn't buy Daenerys. I didn't buy it. It doesn't make sense. It isn't that. I want to call attention to something in the episode of The Bells when she decides to burn the city. She hears the bells ring. She knows the war is over. She knows she hasn't had that much contribution to the fighting that's gone down there. And she thinks back to everything that's been robbed from her and taken from her, and basically just she's not had her due. And she decides to destroy the city and every living inhabitant because she goes full Mad Queen, and the one man that would prevent that from happening, the one man, Ser Jorah Mormont, is dead. She is hundreds of feet above the enemy's home, alone, with no one to guide her and no one to temper that Targaryen blood that begins to boil. That is why she decides to destroy King's Landing. It was perfectly foreshadowed over the entire series. She had great moments of strength and liberation, and then she showed her moments of stark, no pun intended, brutality. This was not a Hail Mary. This was not out of left field. She has always been the mother of dragons, fire and blood. Now, just like Tyrion said, you're not born with your, or when he was Jon Snow, is a great line, you're not born with your house words stamped on your body, and that's how you have to live your life. That's what Daenerys chose. She felt she could not win her throne through mercy, only through fear and death, and she did win it, and she never got to sit in that chair because of the choices she made. I felt like this series finale, and I felt like Game of Thrones in its entirety has shown us a lot about each other, and how in the end, how fruitless our betrayals are, and our horrors that we visit upon each other as people, all in the name of power and coin and destiny and everything, when the strongest things that last are the things you can build your house on, and that is family, that is love, that is compassion, that is loyalty, and above all, being true to yourself and being true to the ones you love. Honor. It's been a privilege to be coming to you guys for all these weeks. I want to thank Zachary Lindsay. This is all his brainchild, Fans Be Like, the Game of Thrones edition. He asked me very early this year if I'd be interested in recording something like this for the fans and to have some fun and to give some insight and talk things over. And I said I'd be pleased to. And it was really been a privilege. So thank you to Zach. And thank you to everybody out there who's watched these editions of Fans Be Like. Some of your input and comments and feedback have been great. Thank you for those who shared this stuff. Thanks a lot for that as well. This is not the end for me. I will definitely be back for the summer movie season of Walking Out of a Movie, so look for that on all of our pages. And it's just been really, really great. And I want to thank David Benioff and Dan Weiss for guiding this huge, unwieldy ship through murky waters for the years they did. Also the cast and crew and the people that worked sleepless nights tirelessly for almost a decade to bring us something that we get served on a platter, so we feel we have the right to just take a knife and fork and cut it up. We don't have that right. I'm very, very happy with what the show did. I'm very disgusted and disappointed at some of the entitled, complaining, mealy-mouth Monday morning quarterbacks that have been merged. Everyone who signed the petition, you can go yourselves. But for those who stuck around and did their viewing parties and stayed true to Game of Thrones and stayed true to everything that was given to us, we're all still here, and we have a realm to explore. So once again, I'm Matt Biller. Thank you to Zach Lindsay. Thank you to everyone at Fans Be Like. Thank you, Game of Thrones. 6 blessings.